thank you for joining us for this episode of Digi-what. So our goal with this webcast, if you will, is to talk about digital and museums and kind of dive deeper into specific issues that we've noticed within the digital and museum space. We assessed a bit in the first week about the situation. Where are we now with digital and museums? The second week, we talked more about the way in which museums are, wait, my brain is blanking. What was last week? Oh, about the organizational structure within museums and how we can help the organization be more innovative and thinking about digital. And this week, we are going to be talking about the structure of virtual museums and digital museums and how the business models can evolve for digital museums. As you may notice, Marcella, Joël, Anaïs, and I are all in the Kremer Collection Museum for this call today, just as a fun reference point. But the provocation we put about was actually about something that Glenn Lowry said in a book that he wrote together with Wendy Woon. He was saying that he thinks of himself as having, or as of MoMA as having three sites: the Midtown site, PS1, and their digital museum. So they don't think of them it as a separate entity, it's an extension. And that kind of got us thinking about whether, if you look at the examples of how museums are going online, there's a strand of emulating the offline museum online and putting the building into a virtual reality space or a 360 street view or whatever it might be. Or there are also other strands that are doing new things with digital that are not emulating the offline museum, but more like an extension. So we wanted to look at both of these and look at what the business models that are brought forward by having these different strategies. So I guess the bottom line is we're looking at what does a digital museum look like and what are how could it operate? So I guess the first part I want to talk about is the copying methodology, let's say. I guess to both Joël and Anaïs, I kind of want to bring it over to you. Do you think there is value in copying the museum online? And this is not just with virtual reality, but also the collection search and bringing everything, digitizing the entire museum experience. Who wants to start?
Do you want to start, Joël, or should I?
Sure. We're usually. I'm used to us both
response to my point.
No. I'm more than happy to start. I think there are different elements to what a digital museum is. So I think defining what's what and what we're exactly talking about is an important thing to do. Because just for instance, not that you said something wrong, but if you're talking about digitizing the collection, so for instance, making it accessible to the public, that is not really in parallel with, that's partially in parallel with what's happening in the physical structure of a museum. Like physical structures for a lot of museums cannot handle the full collection of what the museum owns, right? Very difficult for the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam to put 1 million artifacts in their physical structure. And so in that sense, it's really, well, in all senses, it's really good that things are digitizing, but in that sense, particularly because all of the hidden treasures are now accessible.